Hi, I'm Miriam Cates and this is GBN Originals. Reform UK, the party founded by Nigel Farage, has just scored a stunning victory in Liz Truss's old seat of South West Norfolk. This isn't just any win, it's a landslide that has turned a Tory stronghold into Reform territory overnight. Let's look at the numbers. Reform UK secured an impressive 54.3% of the vote in the Bedingfield Council by-election. The Conservatives, who've held sway in this area for decades, managed just 27.4%. This isn't just a defeat, it's a collapse of the Tory vote share by a staggering 25%. Now you might be thinking, it's just a council by-election, how significant can that be? Well, we'll see. This result could be a bellwether, a clear indicator of the shifting political landscape as we approach the local elections in May. But it's not just this single result that's causing a stir. A bombshell poll by Electoral Calculus has sent tremors through the political establishment. For the first time, Reform UK is projected to win both the most votes and the most seats if a general election was held tomorrow. The numbers are stark. Reform UK is polling at 25.8%, Labour trailing at 24.7%, and the Conservatives languishing in third place at 21.9%. Now, although the gap in support between each party is relatively narrow, it could signal a fundamental realignment of British politics. Because let's consider what the polling means in terms of seats in Parliament. The Electoral Calculus projection puts Reform UK on 192 seats, Labour on 178, and the Conservatives on 142. Just let that sink in for a moment. We're looking at the very real possibility of Nigel Farage as our next Prime Minister. Now, I can almost hear the sceptics among you saying, it's just one poll, polls can be wrong, and you'd be right to be cautious. But it isn't an isolated incident. The latest YouGov poll also shows Reform leading the pack. This seems to be a trend, not an anomaly. So what does all this mean for Labour? Well, it's not good news for Sir Keir Starmer and his party. Labour came third in the Bedingfield by-election, with their vote share plummeting by 14%. This is a party that should be riding high, capitalising on Conservative missteps over recent years. But instead, they're losing ground to Reform UK.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GBNews discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBnews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's look at the bigger picture. Since the July general election, Labour has suffered a net loss of 34 seats in 200 council by-elections. That's not the performance of a party on the rise, it's the sign of a party in trouble. And it's not just at the local level. The Electoral Calculus poll projects Labour losing a whopping 226 seats if a general election were held tomorrow. That's not a defeat, it's a rout. So what's driving this shift? Why are voters turning away from both the Conservatives and Labour and flocking to Reform UK? Well, the answer, I believe, lies in the growing disconnect between the established parties and the British people. For too long, both Labour and the Conservatives have taken their core voters for granted. They've pursued policies that often seem more aligned with global interests than the concerns of ordinary Britons. Reform UK, on the other hand, has tapped into that deep well of frustration and disillusionment. They're offering what many voters see as real change after decades of failure by the Tories and Labour. It's a powerful message and it's clearly resonating. But let's be clear, this isn't just about protest votes or temporary dissatisfaction. The consistency of reforms rising in the polls suggests something more fundamental is at play. As Martin Baxter, the CEO of Electoral Calculus, puts it, this is a pivotal moment with giant cracks showing in the existing two-party system. For Labour, this presents a crisis. The party that once prided itself on representing working class interests now finds itself outflanked by Reform UK. The implications are profound. If Labour can't stem this tide, we could be looking at a complete realignment of British politics. The two-party system that has dominated for so long could be coming to an end. But it isn't just Labour that should be worried. The Conservatives, under the leadership of Kemi Badenoch, are facing problems too. Once considered the natural party of government, they now find themselves potentially relegated to third-party status. However, the picture is not the same across all regions. The Conservatives have actually gained the most seats in by-elections since the general election, 25 in total. And yesterday, the Tories won a convincing victory in Vincent Square in Westminster and scraped a victory in a seat on East Suffolk Council. Reform are making gains, that's for sure, but not everywhere. In some places, it's the Conservatives that are being rewarded for a fall in Labour popularity. The May elections will be a crucial test. With thousands of council seats up for grabs, we'll get a clearer picture of whether this reform surge is sustainable. But the signs are ominous for both Labour and the Conservatives. Bookmakers, those canny observers of political trends, are already adjusting their odds. Reform UK is now at 9-4 to have the most seats in the next election, while Nigel Farage is at the same odds to become the next Prime Minister. And as we saw in the recent US presidential election, the bookies are often the best forecasters in the business. So what does all this mean for the future of British politics? Well, we're potentially on the cusp of the most significant political realignment in generations. The old certainties are crumbling and a new order is emerging. For Labour, the challenge is clear. They need to reconnect with their traditional base to offer a vision that resonates with the concerns of ordinary Britons. If they can't do that, they risk being supplanted by Reform UK as the main opposition to the Conservatives. But it's not just about opposition. With Reform UK's current trajectory, we could be looking at a Farage-led government after the next general election. That's a prospect that would have seemed unthinkable just a few years ago. But with 4 long years to go until the next general election, and if the last 4 years are anything to go by, anything could happen. The momentum is with Reform for now, but as a new party there are plenty of challenges for them to overcome if they're going to form a government. Reform's policies and principles are clear when it comes to immigration. They have yet to come up with comprehensive plans for education, or for health, or for industry. Will Farage be able to keep his team and his membership united? As we approach the May local elections and look ahead to the next general election, one thing is clear. British politics will never be the same again. The two-party system that has dominated for so long is under threat, and a new era of multi-party politics may be dawning. For Labour, the clock is ticking. They need to find a way to stem the tide of support flowing to Reform UK, to reconnect with voters who feel left behind and forgotten. If they can't, they may find themselves not just in opposition, but potentially relegated to third-party status. The message from voters is clear. They want change. They're tired of business as usual, of politicians who seem more interested in Westminster games than in addressing the real concerns of British people. Reform UK has tapped into this desire for change, offering a vision that resonates with many voters. Whether they can maintain this momentum remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, they've already changed the face of British politics. So as we move forward, all eyes will be on those May local elections. They will be a crucial test, not just for Reform UK, but for Labour and the Conservatives as well. The results could well set the stage for the next general election and shape the future of British politics for years to come. In these turbulent times, one thing is certain. The political landscape of Britain is changing and changing fast. Thanks for watching. This is Miriam Cates. Don't forget to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel for more.